on the Race Max Pro. This is going to be a simple instructional video on how to place numbers on your car. It can also be used to do wording as well on your car. I will be doing a single digit number on this vehicle here, and I will be doing a 2-number digit on each side as well as some on the top. So let's go get a blank car I can work with. We've now got a pristine car without any decals on it. So let's go edit in here. I'm going to place a decal or number on the door of the car. I like to start out with the right or the left side of the car where most cars drive from. I'm going to pick a decal here. This is going to be just an alignment decal. I could use a square, or I could use an outline of the square. Now this is perfectly straight on to the car because I've used a camera to rotate the car around. I've also sort of estimated where the center of the door is here. Pick the rough size of my size of the number I want to apply. As it's going to be a single digit, it's probably going to be a little taller than it is wide. So how about we go with that? Now I'm going to do my number in white, so my alignment decal here is not going to be in white. I'm going to use black. I just changed that to black, and I want it on both sides of the car. As it's a symmetrical decal, I can use X-Sync on it. And you'll notice the decal stack there on the black portion there on the near the top right, there's only one decal shown on my stack so far. And I'll rotate the car around. Yep. It's symmetrical on both sides. Let's rotate my car back. I don't really usually need to do that because I'm just going to tap this decal. And I'm going to duplicate it. Notice when I duplicate it, there's no additional charge for it, the duplicated decal. It's a little trick to save you a little bit of cost when you're doing your decaling. Now I'm going to replace the decal I just made with a number. I'm going to go with the funky number 3 up top here. And it's going to be a little awkward to try to align my black decal with a black alignment one, a black outline. So I am going to change the number to a white. Apparently I only need to adjust the height and the width some. That looks to be a pretty good fit for height. Let's set the width. Excuse me. There we go. That looks pretty good for width-wise. You notice it's also still in sync. So let's set that by hitting the check mark so we can move the car around without the decal move. I don't think that's going to work on the other side of the car. Go back to my decal. Well, we don't want to X-Sync it. X-Syncing is not going to work in one iota. So we're going to mirror it. It still looks funky. But notice there are now 2 decals in the decal scheme on the black over there. There's one highlighted in yellow, which is the one that it's presently in the center there. That's in the center of the view rather than the one I started with. Now, what we have to do to get that to go right, we just flip it around that way. We'll set that in position. I'm going to hit the decal stack. When I do that, you notice it just highlighted the decal I just worked on instead of the decal I wanted to do, which is my black outline. So I have to hit the decal stack again to go to the right decal I want. And I'm going to change the color of that by turning it into a completely translucent because I'm going to use that again at some point here. Let's just slide the car around. We now have a car with a basic number on the door. You'll notice there's a car in the background. The red car with the 8 on it. You might be able to tell there's an 8 there. I outlined that with some circles as well. And being an 8, it's a little easier to work with than the 3, because when you do it on the flip it over the other side, it doesn't matter because it's a symmetrical number. A little trick using the number 8. Well, you know what? I think now it's time to go do 2 numbers on the door of the car. So let's get rid of one of these 3s because I'm not going to use 3 as a number. Let's go into my alignment decal. We're going to have to change the color of it by making it not translucent. And the aspect ratio is not going to work for doing a multi-digit or name on the side of the door or any other place on the car. So let's make this wider. It still looks like it's pretty close to the center of the doorway of the car. I think that looks like it'd be a reasonable size to put on there. Okay, we can still use that 3, I think, but I'm going to change it to a different number. So I'll replace it. I'm going to turn it into a 2. And I'm going to slide it to one of the corners of the box. It's not quite right. Looks a little tall. Dropped a little low, I should say. Okay, we've now got a 2 on this side. And I'm going to change this by duplicating this. And I'm going to change that one we just created into a 6. So we're going to have a car that's called 26. You know, and I think I pretty much lucked out by getting the spacing good on that. Sometimes the spacing isn't quite right. You have to remove the second digit you created and change the width of the other one, whichever direction, either wider or narrower, and create the whole thing again to make sure it fits the box. So while I'm working with my decal stack here, I'm going to tap my outline decal, and moment here, I'm just going to turn it transparent. What do you think? That looks pretty good on there? I hope so, because we're going to put that on the other side too. So we need to go into here. I'm going to tap this decal stack. It's going to go to the last decal I created. I'm going to take the 2 and I'm going to mirror it. And remember, we have to flip it. It's at the wrong end of the box, so I have to slide it around. Put it at the other end of the box. And I'm going to duplicate that one. Then we go into replacing this one I just created. We're going to turn that into a 6. See the decal stack way up in the top right there. There's a 6 on the line with the yellow in it. I just slide that to the other end of the box. And we'll freeze that in place by hitting the check mark. Now we'll go into our decal stack, and it will light up the last decal in yellow that I adjusted. I don't want to adjust that. I want to get rid of my alignment decal. Well, I could have hit the X mark out in front and got rid of it, but I'm just going to turn it into transparent because I may use it again. And there we go. We've got 26 on each side of the car, just as we had 3 on each side of the car. Now, we can get a little more complex than this. Let's go back into my alignment decal. We're going to not make it transparent. How about I make it white? And I'm going to replace it with a square this time. This doesn't really work out too well. And I don't know what it did. I've got to check to see what's going on here. I don't know why it changed that. Because I hit the check mark and it went to the last decal I was working with. Yeah, this is a little bit awkward. Okay, that's probably good enough. The reason I chose white is because I am going to duplicate that one. And I'm going to turn the one I just duplicated. I'm going to change the color of it to black. And I'm just going to shrink it a little bit. So I'm going to have a box with a white outline on it. But now I've got to get my numbers in the right place. So what I do, I take the decal I just created. It's now outlined. It's now got the one with the yellow line. There are 3 operating systems on that line. There's X to remove it. And there's 2 only. There's the X to remove it, and there's the 3 lines at the end. If you touch the 3 lines in the end, you can move it in the stack. See the different effects it makes when it's in different places in the stack. Now we've got a number inside a box on the side of my car. So what happens if I want to do something a little different? I don't just want numbers on the door. How about I want a number on the hood or something? So we'll do the same thing I did before. We'll get my favorite alignment decal. Line it up on the hood. Adjust the height of it a bit. How about we put a little bit of an angle on this one? We'll duplicate it. Well, that didn't work. I have to take the angle out of it again. It's pretty close to center. When you slide your decals around, you got to be careful to make sure they're exactly where you want them. You know what? I'm going to leave it pretty close to center because this video is going to get long. Now I'm going to rotate it just a bit, or I could rotate it some more. And I'm going to make it wider so my 26 can fit in there. And let's go change the color of it to black. Okay, once you do that, you have to hit the check mark. So I have to go back into my decal stack. Fortunately, it's the last decal I work with. I'm going to duplicate that one. And I'm going to turn that into numbers. My 2. It's backwards around the wrong way. That looks pretty close. Let's change the color to make it a little easier to work with. There we go. Now I want to adjust the width of it, the height of it, make it fit the box. Adjust the width a little bit more. It's going to be awkward getting the decal to stay exactly where you want it. I'm going to duplicate that one, turn this one into a 6, go into the number decals, and it's a 6. Slide it to the other end of the box. It's too wide, so let's hit the X mark in front of the 6, which is lit up in yellow. Go to the 2, make this narrower. Not quite lined up right. That's pretty close. So we'll duplicate it again. As I was saying earlier, you might have to do a little bit of adjustment when you do this to get it to fit the box if you really want it to look good. It's not perfect. It looks like it's still just a little bit wide. But I'm going to call this about the end of this video. I went into the decal stack again after going out of it and lit the last decal I worked with. I want to get rid of my alignment decal. Instead of hitting the X, I'm just going to make it invisible. The check mark. And we've got a number on the hood. We could do the same thing on the roof as well, or various other places. And as I said, you can do it. And there's some cars you can even put license plates on them. It works good for that too. If you want to put your name on the back of the car, you can pretty much in every race see your own car, and it's not likely anybody's going to copy your name or whatever style you decide to do it in. So I'm going to call that the end of my how-to video on putting a number on your car, or using a box to put a word on your car. And just to make sure I can keep this, I'm going to pay for it. So I hope you enjoyed my video.